All right, good evening. Welcome to our May 31st, 2016 regular nighttime meeting, or evening meeting, for the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Do I have any announcements from the board? No? Okay. All right. So, looks like we're gonna go straight to recognition and acknowledgments.
So the first item is from the administrative office to adopt a proclamation recognizing the volunteer hours of Rebecca Ann Worthy.
Rebecca, can you come up, please? So I'd just like to say something. Rebecca, I met you a couple years ago, didn't I? Yes, sir. That was up at Ironstone. And just the other, last week, days are kind of running for me. I was at Calaveras High School, and they had their award ceremony for students. And Rebecca just didn't show up on that one. We're going to hand her an award there. But this is the first year that we are able to hand an award to a civic engagement recipient. And so I'd like the board to actually consider doing this year forward. I think civic engagement is really important for students to get involved in their communities, not only just volunteerism in whatever it is, but also in their county government, their city government, whatever it is, as long as they're involved within their communities. And so I know that Rebecca here is involved, obviously, in the CHP Explorers program. Now, I was lucky enough to be involved in this last year up at Ironstone with a couple of CHP Explorers who got a President's Award, and that was for her first time too. And here we have somebody else that's following suit. I really appreciate that. So Rebecca's getting an award for civic engagement because CHS has a program, and I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but students can do anything volunteer within the community from a volunteer group, like Senior Center, or if there's a program that they're having a dinner, or Lions Club, or CHP Explorers, they can go log hours. Once they volunteer, they can go back and log into a school site that they have, and they can track all of that throughout from the time they're freshmen all the way up until they're seniors, and they log all those hours. And then the school tracks it for them, tracks what they've done, and then they get to print that out when they're graduating from high school, and then they can take it with them to their college, for their college transcripts. A really great program. And so we're trying to build that up. Well, this person here, Rebecca, she excelled in this program. Right here on this piece of paper, it says 842 hours of volunteer hours, right? You think that's staggering? Tell them how many hours you have now.
I think I'm at about 1,400.
1,400 hours. And so she missed her award last week because she was collecting more hours. So she's very dedicated to what she's interested in, And I'll just go ahead and read this, if you don't mind. It's a proclamation recognizing the volunteer hours performed by Rebecca N. Worthy. Whereas the Calaveras High School Civic Engagement Program encourages students to engage in activities within their community. And whereas Rebecca N. Worthy volunteered her time to the California Highway Patrol's Explorers Post 255. And whereas Rebecca N. Worthy logged a staggering, right now it's 1,400 hours, it says 842 here, which is almost twice as many hours as are historically performed. And whereas Rebecca M. Worthy plans to attend classes at Folsom Lake Community College majoring in Administration of Justice, to then pursue a career with the California Highway Patrol in Northern California. And there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff that we don't know about you, but I'm sure that some of your leaders here would like to talk about. And therefore, we proclaims that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors would like to extend their congratulations to Rebecca for being recognized as the 2016 Civic Engagement Top Performer at Calaveras High School and express our appreciation for her dedication to the county and its residents. Now, she is the top performer of all of the students for the Civic Engagement Program at Calaveras High School. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Board for a motion right after public comments. So public comments, please. Don't be shy, you
guys. I've only known Rebecca for a few months now. I'm new to the Explore Post program. She has done everything and tried to attend everything that we've put on for them. She's always willing to come, provide service for us all. She's willing to help us as officers out. When she goes on ride-alongs, she's always there to help us. I remember seeing her during the Butte fire a lot. She was there every day with the other explorers, working side by side with officers, helping us with traffic control, helping us with complaints, helping us with going to talk to people and assist them. So she's always willing. I congratulate her. She's a very good, what's the word I'm looking for? Example to the community.
Thank you.
I can't really much more, but as the commander of the CHP office, I've known Rebecca since I've been here for the last 3 years. And as everybody has already said, she's just a go-to person. Always at the office, willing to help wherever she can, and really the epitome of a true leader and an example for everybody. So, Rebecca, congratulations. You deserve it.
Michael Walker. I'm Rebecca's police science instructor at Calaveras High School, and it was the greatest pleasure I ever had introducing her and these other two explorers to the CHP program last year. They grabbed a hold of that program and made it their own and have served our community above and beyond. And I just want to applaud you, Rebecca, and the rest of you also, but Rebecca especially for the number of hours that you've committed to that program. Outstanding.
Thank you.
Can you guys come up here? I'm going to put you on. All the way up. Oh, okay. You can talk if you want to, but we appreciate the fact that we have young people involved in these types of community engagement, and I've seen firsthand, some folks that have come out of the CHP Explorers. I know you guys have a really great program. So I'd like to call for have a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Calaveras. Any more public comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So it's 3 yes and 2 absent. Right. So thank you for your excellent performance, and thanks you guys for following right there with her. Oh, by the way, I want to ask you, was there any complaints of the Butte fire? Were you handling things there?
Chair, I have a question. Gentlemen, ladies, I notice you're wearing ribbons on your shirts. They're your uniforms. What are those? Are those awards? What does that mean?
Okay, so we give these ribbons through the Roaring to Life program.
Okay.
What that is, it's basically when people test America. So there's actually a lot more ribbons. The two we have right now, the red one is just for tenure, which means we just tenure the post pretty good. The blue and gold one is for community service.
Good job, gentlemen and lady.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so move on to public comments. Public comments is 30 minutes in length total. Any item of interest to the public that is within subject matter jurisdiction of board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it's determined to be an emergency by the board of supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the regular agenda. So public comments, we have 3 minutes today.
Thank you. My name is Joyce Tickle. I'm here tonight for the Calaveras Planning Coalition and the Community Action Project. Those who would withhold the Mentir General Plan from the people are the enemies of freedom of thought, the enemies of freedom of speech, and the enemies of representative democracy. For without an informed electorate, you choke democracy. Those who would withhold this document from the public are not satisfied with the odds that favor their political majority. They seek to rig the game. Today there is a duality in Calaveras County, but it's not an elegantly balanced duality. It is a duality of darkness and hypocrisy. On the one hand, leaders say people should come together and get along, but when 1,000 people come together over 3 years to try to get along, the end product, the Mentir General Plan, was rejected and withheld from the people. On the one hand, leaders say people should be more business friendly, but rather than helping businesses comply with the rules to protect people, the leaders exempt businesses from the rules, driving a wedge even deeper between the people and new businesses. On the one hand, leaders say they are for property rights, but they only defend the rights of those seeking project approvals and ignore the property rights of the people harmed by new development. On the one hand, our leaders seek office because they believe that government doesn't work. Once elected, they then make a series of decisions to ensure that government does not work. The truth is that government doesn't work when it is run by people who don't believe that government can work and who don't even try to make it work. On the one hand, leaders oppose ineffective state and federal regulations to protect health, safety, well-being, and the environment, but then they accept these ineffective regulations as the only ones that should apply and refuse to apply local safeguards. On the one hand, leaders reject any detail being added to clarify the general plan, but then they reject policies that lack the detail needed for clarity. To be fair, there are some people who like this darkness. For those that are blinded by their own ideology, their own egos, their own self-interest, their own greed, and their own power, the darkness suits them just fine. A prison is no place for ideas. It is time for the supervisors to crawl out of the darkness. Give the people the Mentir General Plan they paid for with their time and their effort and their taxes. Free the Mentir General Plan. Thank you.
Jim Biso from Mountain Ranch, McCullamy Hill. I'm here, I didn't want to steal Rebecca's presentation, but I'm here to honor Caesar in a way because I want to thank Cliff Edson for his help and support for the Calaveras Civic Engagement Program that has been going on for a few years, trying to encourage students to get involved in community service. Cliff played a very crucial role for us when he came to us and said, if you're going to call it Calaveras Civic Engagement, that it needs to be civic engagement in all of its forms. And what he did was he made us realize that civic engagement is not just community service, but it also has to do with involvement in politics and economics and demographics, and encouraged us to get kids involved in governance issues, just with the Board of Supervisors or LAPCO, or maybe it's just the library or the Humane Society or those things. And I think that it speaks volumes about Cliff, because he's one of those persons who sort of looks beyond just the surface issues and says, how big can this become, and how extensive can civic engagement go? And it was a real breath of fresh air for our organization, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to thank him. I also, want everybody to know that over the last year, the seniors at Calaveras High School have logged almost 5,000 hours totally in community service, and the school itself has logged over 11,000 in community service, and part of that is because there are groups of individuals who are teachers, former teachers, administrators, and community members, and such as Cliff, who have gotten behind this effort and recognize that an education is incomplete if it just has the 3 R's and is being judged by what can be evaluated by a standardized test. There is a thing out of education when kids get involved in opportunities like the Explorers and other various other organizations that are in need of support. That having been said, I also want to thank the Board of Supervisors for continuing the tradition of having evening board meetings every fifth Tuesday during the year, so that people like Rebecca and the other Explorers can come to these meetings and actually observe and participate in what's going on. It's obviously difficult for them to come at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, but by having the evening meetings, it facilitates that and makes it much more user-friendly. So thank you to Cliff, thank you for the recognition to Rebecca, and thank you to the Board of Supervisors for holding these evening meetings so our youth can, in fact, be civically engaged as easily as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Race, and I'm from Jenny Lind. Can you hear me okay? Good. Thank you. Just on, without going any specific one, I hopefully that you folks and all the folks in that camera take a look at it, what's been happening around a little planet. I like to take a look at what's happening to this state. And take a... Am I interrupting something back there?
I'm just trying to hear. We've got people carrying on a conversation.
Okay. I'll be a gentleman for a couple more minutes. But I would like to mention that we better take a look at what's going on in this state and around us. I don't know if you want to start with Venezuela, a nice progressive socialist country. What's happening to Puerto Rico? Take a look at what's happening in Cook County, L.A., San Francisco, and Sacramento. And say, well, what has got to do with us? A lot. Because some of the whole ideology that's being tried to be imposed upon this county, it's affecting the rest of this little planet. I'm not making a judgment, but I do have a strong opinion, and hopefully some people take a look at it and what we're heading toward. The other thing I'd like to mention is there was some mention that the general plan wasn't presented to anybody. Well, I would like to say, unfortunately, I have not seen any audit or record of that $250,000 that was donated by Caltrans, the road agency, for my rallies. They had a counselor, somebody to help them, an outside source. That costed over $80,000, plus all the other litigation attorneys that helped them form it. And for them to complain to you that you did not keep a record and give them the idea of what they produced. They just show their, well, let's just be nice, be polite, ignorance, hypocrisy. They spent $250,000 of your tax dollars money.
30 seconds.
They have counsel, attorneys all over the place that they pay for taxpayer road money. And they cannot show any results of it. That is not your job. You consider that, and it's the law, I think it's a Brown Act or something, what you consider and what you talk about and so on, that does not have to be shared. But they have not been capable of sharing what they achieved. So,
Thank you, Peter.
this can be hypocrisy. Thank you.
Hi, we're from the Calaveras Youth Wrestling. I'm Janet Masson, and this is Scott Guthrie. He's our head coach and took over running our program a year ago. We've been making a lot of changes to our program, and we're here tonight to invite the board to our first annual taco fundraiser dinner on July 30th at the San Andreas Town Hall. The doors will open at 5 p.m. with a no-host bar. Dinner is served at 7 p.m. The cost would be $20 per ticket, and the buffet would include chicken or beef tacos, rice, and beans. We're also having a raffle prizes, a silent auction, and dessert and a 50-50 raffle. All the proceeds from this is going towards our youth wrestling program, and it's to help fund the tournament fees. Uniforms that are extremely old, we figure they're 8 to 10 years old, and they're very worn, and equipment for these kids. Now, all the coaches are volunteering their time to take these kids to these tournaments. And in the last 2 years, we went from having 18 children that qualified for the state wrestling tournament in Fresno, or Clovis rather, with 3 kids placing, to this year we had 33 children that qualified and 18 placing. So we're doing a lot of changes to the program, and we are asking for your support. Either by coming to the fundraiser or, trying to see what we're doing and check it out.
Great. Do you have any flyers? Great.
We do.
Shannon to Diane, please.
Where can they get tickets for all those people who might be listening?
Watch social media in the next few weeks. Tickets are coming, and we will blast social media with it.
So is that information on these?
Yes.
The information, yes, contact information is on that. Actually, you left these as well, Janet?
Yes.
We'll be out there quicker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Good evening, Tanya Dawson from Valley Springs. I also wanted to say the Mintner Harnish Plan was a horrible idea, and the people that supported it, they tried to get Rancho included in it. Over 500 people showed up at the auditorium at Rancho with signs saying Rancho out. It caused a huge, huge mess. And also these same people supporting the Mintner Harnish Plan tried to redesignate my property, actually all the property in the county, so that horses were on 40 acres or more. So that would mean that my 5-acre horse property, they tried to tell me that it was then suitable, and I have this in writing in the government documents, that it was my property would then be suitable for alpacas, llamas, sheep, and goats. Well, I'm an equestrian, and I have no use for llamas, alpacas, sheep, and goats. And I put in a horse barn and a riding arena, which you couldn't do anything with those animals for my purpose. So they would have changed the value of my property because they thought that that's what was in my best interest. And I didn't like the mentality of the people with the pushing the Mintner Harnish Plan, thinking that they knew what was best for me. I chose my property and what I wanted for myself, and it's not up to them to decide that for me. On a similar note of government overreach and telling us what to do, I wanted to request that you might think about revisiting permits to put in water heaters and other silly things like that. In the past, years ago, I installed the water heater by myself. I didn't need a permit. I just got the book from the hardware store on how to do it, and I was able to do it myself. Since then, I've had a couple other water heaters replaced by professional plumbers that did the job, knew what they were doing. One guy did a really bad job, and the plumbing blew up, and the hot water peeled off the paint off my wall, and just he did a lot of damage. I took it on myself to get him back out and fix the whole thing and do it right, and he did it right. And I didn't need a government permit. I didn't need the government watching over me to make sure it was all done right. So I would just like to request that you might think about those silly permits and any other silly permits like that where we don't really need the government babysitting us on how to do things right. When we can get a professional in, you know, we hold them accountable for what they're doing, and that's our business. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the regular agenda.
So the first item is from the administrative office to receive a presentation from the Area 12 Agency on Aging, updating the board on current issues and activities.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Milhoff. I'm the Executive Director of Area 12 Agency on Aging, and I'd like to introduce the staff with me this evening. We have Tracy Sawyer. Tracy is our Assistant Director, and she oversees our nutrition programs, family caregiver, and our supportive services. And then here at the computer for me this evening is Doreen Schmidt. Doreen is the agency planner. Doreen has just completed and submitted the 2016-2020 area plan that you all actually have, as well as she finalized our needs assessment back in October. Tracy also works on the with Calvert Covers as well. So our presentation this evening is to provide the board with a brief overview of our agency and the value of our services. In front of you, you do have a copy of the PowerPoint. So the Older Americans Act was enacted back in the 60s by Congress and President Johnson. They were concerned about the lack of community social services for older adults. The Agency on Aging is a pass-through entity for federal and state grant funding along with local matching dollars from each of our participating counties. Our mission statement is brief but powerful and conveys that we are passionate about our commitment to serve older adults. Our agency was established back in 1987 as a 5-county joint powers agency. We are part of an aging network that includes 33 agencies on aging in California and 675 nationwide. Our agency administers contracts with several organizations to provide a wide variety of federal and state-funded programs. The agency partners with local community-based organizations to improve and expand local services. We have found that working together to help stretch our dollars and to meet the needs of the consumers in our public service area. We partner with several organizations locally, such as Common Ground Senior Services, Catholic Charities, Health and Human Services, Resource Connection, and the Calaveras Senior Center, just to name a few. We also advocate for positive policy and legislative changes at the local, state, and federal levels. An example of this was back in October, we were notified of a possibility of funding cuts to the HICAP program nationwide. We immediately contacted our advisory council and JPA members and asked them to join the nationwide effort of advocacy. Many of them responded to the request, and we are happy to report that the funding cuts were averted. Our governing board is made up of one supervisor from each of the participating counties. So the responsibilities of the board are to adopt an area plan, the annual budget, and provide general oversight to the agency. Our advisory council is to serve as an advisory body to our governing board and the agency on matters regarding concerns or interests of older adults in their community. Your members for Calaveras County are District 1, Janet Clark, George Fry, and Barbara Grogan. From District 3 is Phil Sherwood, District 4 is Susan Rich, and our provider is Elizabeth Thompson. We also have California senior legislators, and both of those are from Calaveras County. And we have Marnell White, who is from District 4. She is our senior assembly. And Rex Wishand is also from District 4, and he is the senior senator. Our planning process involves many pieces that work together. The California Department of Aging determines the allotment of funds based on the intrastate funding formula to the 33 agencies on aging according to the same ratio as the population of older adults in the state. CDA evaluates the non-minority, minority, low-income, and geographically isolated. The majority of the population in our PSA is non-minority and geographically isolated. Collectively, as a 5-county agency on aging, we receive more dollars based on the total population in our area. The Older Americans Act requires that each agency on aging to assure an adequate proportion of grant funding in 3 priority areas. The California Department of Aging actually establishes and sets those. We have access, which is 65%. And access includes transportation, information and assistance, outreach, and case management and health programs. In-home services is at 7.5%, and that includes homemaker, chore, personal care, and residential repair programs. And then legal assistance is at 2%. The needs assessment survey plays a critical role in the planning process. Surveys are sent out every 4 years to discover the needs of individuals age 60 plus in the 5-county area. The data we receive back from the counties drives the decisions about programs and where we spend the dollars. Surveys were sent out in the fall of 2014, and the completed data analysis survey was completed back in October and is available on our website, which is www.area12.org. Every 4 years, our agency has the opportunity to write an area plan. We gather information from our advisory council members, needs assessment, surveys, public hearings, and our providers, and we use this information to develop our plan. The 2016-2020 area plan is the blueprint or the roadmap that provides direction to serve the needs of the senior plus population. The area plan has been approved by our board and was submitted to the California Department of Aging as required. And again, you do have the copies of that area plan. Every 4 years, we go out for contracts, out for bid, and the current cycle is 2014 to 2018. And as you can see by the chart, our PSA is experiencing a steady growth in the senior population. Calaveras senior population grew by more than 2% from 2014. The selection of programs offered by the agency are divided into 2 categories. We have direct programs and contracted programs. These programs are core services that have been identified by the needs assessment and the needs of the community. These are the approved direct service programs that are administered directly out of our agency. And to ensure that older adults are utilizing available services, we have developed working relationship with local organizations such as Common Ground, DRAIL, Catholic Charities, Home Health, hospital discharge planners, and Health and Human Services. They provide information on our services as well as make referrals on behalf of their clients. And then this evening we wanted to highlight just a few of our direct programs. We have our 3B Health program. This program assists older individuals with improving or maintaining their physical health. We are currently offering a yoga class in Calaveras County that has over 20 participants. The class is held at the Family 4 Fitness Center, and we contract with a local licensed instructor named Colleen Gavin. We are currently working on starting a second yoga class for fiscal year 16-17 and hope to have that up and running at the Murphy Senior Center. Our information and assistance program is where clients receive a comprehensive assessment either by phone or in person. Based on the assessment, referrals are made or given to a client and follow-up is provided. We also have a database of resources and a resource file with up-to-date local, state, and federal programs and services. This program also provides outreach and education on available services. And so far, from July 1st to April of 2016, we have provided 119 outreaches here in Calaveras County and have made over 199 contacts. Our nutrition education program provides congregate and home-delivered meal clients with information regarding nutrition and nutrition-related topics. Clients receive monthly Nutrient of the Month flyers and quarterly brochures. We also launched this year what's called the Dietitian is In, is where our registered dietitian provides small group discussions or meets with individuals one-on-one to provide education on specific topics. One topic this year was what we call the hydration station. And we have 3 dietitians that cover our service area, and the dietitian for Calaveras County is Michael Hellwig. And then finally, our health insurance counseling and advocacy program is our trained staff and volunteer counselors offer objective information and provide assistance with problems relating to Medicare, Medicare Advantage plans, supplemental insurance policies, long-term care insurance, and prescription drug programs. They are required to have over 30 hours of classroom training, 10 hours of internship, and 12 hours of additional training per year. We have 3 volunteer counselors in Calaveras County. And as of March of this fiscal year, our staff and volunteer counselors have saved 382 Calaveras County residents with over $333,000 in savings. So now those are dollars that those individuals can spend in their community. We also have the service broken down by zip code. If any of the supervisors would like a copy of that, I can make sure and get that to you. We contract with Common Ground Senior Services to provide congregate, home-delivered meal programs and transportation here in Calaveras County. We also contract with Catholic Charities to provide our ombudsman program, elder abuse prevention, and legal services. In order to obtain grants from the federal and state governments, it is necessary that the counties provide additional matching funds to the agency. The match is actually based on the total 60-plus population of our area. In 2015-2016, Calaveras County match was $88,373. And as you can see by the graph, fiscal year to date services provided to Calaveras seniors has totaled $265,355, and we have served over 3,389 clients. So for every dollar Calaveras County contributes, you are receiving approximately $3 in services. Aging is something that we all experience. We continue to better understand our aging population in each community to ensure that resources are used effectively and efficiently and ensure older adults have the choice to age in place. I would like to end the presentation this evening with a quote from the author of The Fountain of Age, Betty Friedan. Aging is not lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. Thank you for your time.
Any public comments?
Hi, I'm Tanya Dawson from Valley Springs, and this program is a charity that's funded with my tax money, and it comes from my budget for charities. While this may be a very nice program, there are causes that I feel are more important for me to fund. And because it cuts into my budget for charities, it's money I can't spend on things that I feel are important. I feel that I should have a choice as to how my money for charity is spent and which charities I choose to support. Please keep this in mind in future when deciding whether or not to fund programs like this. Thank you.
Bonnie Newman from Double Springs. Care of the elderly and the disabled is not a charity. It's an obligation humans have to each other. To trivialize it into a category of a charity is ignorance of what the services are. Unfortunately, a whole lot of old people lost their entire life savings about 15, 20 years ago. Bad investments in big corporation type schemes. People do not have the resources to care for themselves. I've gone into homes where people are lying in their waste because they don't have the resources to have somebody come in and clean them up and clean their bathrooms and keep them from developing sepsis and other kinds of health-related diseases. When somebody comes up and trivializes the kind of work that I do by calling it charity, it is charity because no one could ever pay employees to do what home care workers and loved ones do for their family members when they find them in need, elderly, disabled, and homebound. Thank you.
Lori White from Angels Camp. With all due respect to the ladies who have spoken and this young lady here, I'm 67. I'm really not as old as you all think I am. And I think programs like this are really something that is important because I think we need to take care of our elderly. But stop calling me elderly and get your age raised up to an area where people really do need care. If someone is wallowing in something, it's probably because they have mental health problems. I take on board, I don't want to pay for things that are coming out of tax dollars. But if we could just get that age raised up a little bit, you know, they said what 70 is the new 50 or whatever, and get it raised up to an area where it should be and help the older people that need the help. I'd really be in favor of that.
I'm Peter Race from General Inn. To me, the unfortunate part is that that is needed. I know the general plan redefined family. And if you recall what was definition of family, now we know why it was redefined, what family is. This has nothing to do with zoning, folks. Unfortunately, as societies in general may be creating this whole problem. And we should take a look at ourselves. Now, I haven't seen the numbers, but usually a procedure like this presentation and the next board meeting, they're going to hit you up for money. But I would love to see, break it down, what it costs to administer it, how much the caregiver is making. Yes, there are a lot of people who need help. I agree with you. But I would like to question it. Why do we need all this? What happened to the society in general? Does, believe me, take a look at healthcare, what's happening with healthcare in this county. And I'm sure all the folks in this has good intention, and I want to thank them for it. But what created all this need for elderly taken care of? What happened to the families? We had recently some discussion with the Latinos people from San Joaquin. And you know what, folks? Those Latino folks, not the ones that came up here give you a hard time, but it can be complimented because they do take care of their families. They're very family-oriented. Unfortunately, certain ideology, they want everybody to be dependent on the government so they can control it. We've got to take a look at how much are we spending to taking care of other people. What happened to their family? Why is the family abandoned them? So I'm looking forward to next board meeting when they come in for what they need and what they want from the general fund and etc. Hopefully they can bring some more paperwork and numbers. And I will appreciate that if it's volunteer work. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Board comments?
Question, Chair? Sure. For folks from Aiken County. Per your stats on your investment, county investment on slide 17, I noticed we have some figures there. The case management program, the information provided says you served 27 people as of the 30th of April. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that just for the first 4 months of the year?
That's from July 1st through...
July 1st? And that's a total of $77,000 and change?
Correct.
Is that, and hopefully my math is good, that's about $3,000 per person.
So that is a case management program that's a Medi-Cal waiver program. So that program works in conjunction with in-home supportive services and Medi-Cal. Those are for individuals over the age of 65 that are at risk of being institutionalized or placed into a long-term care facility. So the cost of keeping someone at home through this care management program is less expensive than putting them into a long-term care facility. And so with Medi-Cal, in-home supportive services, and our care managers coordinating the care to allow those individuals that are at risk to remain safe and independent in their home.
Does Medi-Cal, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
For interrupting.
No, it's okay.
Does Medi-Cal, are they covering any of those costs?
They are covering some of those costs, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, the funds for that program actually come in through Medi-Cal. So the $77,000, those are, we get approximately $342,000 annually from the state. This is one of the programs that is state funded. So this comes directly from the state to our agency. So it's approximately $342,000 a year. And then the agency actually contributes, or with the matching dollars, puts in some matching dollars for that program.
So that dovetails into the $88,000 that the county provides versus the $265,000 total dollars.
Correct.
Okay, and that's part of the Medi-Cal contribution.
Yes.
And then if we look back, one more deal of the home delivered meals, my wife was a volunteer for that. It looks like 226 people were served for $139,824. So that's probably about $3,400 each. Is that about right?
So it's 226 individuals. Those are non-duplicated individuals. So those individuals are getting a meal every day. So it's a home-delivered meal Monday through Friday. In Calaveras County, they get frozen meals, and so they do get a delivery once a week of those meals. So yes, it does seem like you have 226 individuals, but they're receiving a meal every day, 5 days a week.
Is there any additional funding for that program, or is that all county money?
No, that program is through the Older Americans Act, and those are federal dollars as well as we receive some state dollars.
And once again, that's reflected in the $88,000 that the county spends versus
Yes.
$236,000.
Correct.
So it's not totally a county function.
No,
It's state, federal involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. I've heard all this, so it's
Yeah.
not news to me.
You guys have any more to present?
No? Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
Thank you.
for presentation. Very good to hear about the programs. Thank you. I know there's a lot of people up here that rely on you guys. And so, just my 2 cents. I know a couple of people that don't have any family, actually, that I see them once in a while in the restaurant. They can't really afford to come there, eat there often. And you deliver to them. And I know that I've talked to them about it, they're thankful that they get deliveries. So, whatever the reason for where they are in life, can help that now. But it's a needed program, and I'm just hopeful that we're running as efficiently as possible.
Thank you.
So the next item is from the Administrative Office to adopt a resolution of commitment accepting the donation of the Paul Moeller Studio and the land on which it is located from the Calaveras Community Television, or CCTV, Board of Directors upon completion of the purchase of the land by CCTV from the Calaveras County Water District.
And what you have before you, as Ms. Silver said, is a resolution of commitment. Currently, the Paul Moeller Studio is where public access TV is located, and we lease the building from CCTV at a cost of $18,000 per year. They are interested in purchasing, CCTV is interested in purchasing the land from CCWD, and that requires some conditions, which includes the movement of a water line, a lot line adjustment, recording the easement. And upon completion of the sale from CCWD, they would like to donate the studio and the land upon which that parcel is to the county. But before they move forward with the conditions and purchasing the land, they want to ensure that once that is done, the county will accept the donation from CCTV. We have been renting the studio from CCTV for a very long time, as far back as 1991. If you remember, earlier this year in February, we brought the lease, a one-year extension of the lease until February of 2017 in order to give CCTV time to purchase the property and do the meet the required conditions to do that. But again, they want to be ensured if they spend the money and purchase the land, that the county will accept the donation. And basically that's what this resolution is saying, is that if they do all those things, that the county will, in the future, accept the donation of the land in the studio, which will relieve the county of the $18,000 a year lease cost, but we will take over any maintenance of the studio, land, and the insurance on the building.
Public comments on this?
I got a question. Has this property been appraised?
Well, since it's owned by CCWD, I would imagine that they have appraised it and are looking at, have come to the agreement. The agreement for the sale of property is between CCWD and CCTV.
Okay, but I still talk about spending taxpayers' money. I want to know if that property been appraised and how much it's worth. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, CEO Ryan. Thank you very much for considering this item. I'm Dave Egerton, General Manager of Calaveras County Water District, and I believe that this is a very positive development. The time that we have spent since I've been there in the last year and a half with CCTV and Mr. Lark and the board members of CCTV has been, I think, really positive in trying to come up with something that we can really make sure that this really important public service and asset to the community in CCTV continues, and that the investment that has been made, the volunteer effort in building this facility and what it means for our community continues. And that was kind of my concern, was that if we were looking, because we obviously some time ago moved out of the adjacent building as our headquarters, and if we were going to transfer that or sell that property, that if that lease were transferred to another owner, property owner, who didn't see the same value in the continuation of that lease, that could potentially put it in jeopardy at some point if there wasn't a willingness to continue that relationship. So this, in my mind, was an important way for us to try to resolve that, make sure there was certainty that we could provide for its continued existence, and by transferring ownership of that property, which in my mind there's no better use than the use that it's in right now. And so that's what has been proposed. I really appreciate your time on this. I know it's important to CCTV to be able to have the opportunity for transferring this to the county. And, hopefully that'll be an ongoing savings. I know there would be some costs associated as an owner, but hopefully compared to the lease payment, there would be some savings to the county. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any for me and CCWD. Thank you.
So the purchase of the property is $36,000.
35 is what we had discussed.
Okay. And that's, we're paying $18,000 a year right now at least?
Yes, in your lease with CCTV, yes. And that $35,000 would be by the CCTV nonprofit entity to CCWD. And that was a number I know that we had discussed initially. That was one that was offered up by CCTV. I just want to make sure we get something that's compensation, so it's not deemed to be a gift to public funds or something like that, since we're actually, transferring ownership of real property. But it really isn't about, revenue to CCWD. It's about making sure that this continues in perpetuity, which I think this arrangement provides the best path for that.
And I just want to make it clear that it is CCTV that is purchasing the land. They are a nonprofit organization. They are, and they will be moving the water line and requesting the lot line adjustment. So it is a nonprofit that is buying the land, and it will be then donated, land and studio, to the county.
All right.
Yeah, question. Is CCTV a 501c3?
Let them answer.
My name is Mary Matzik, and I'm one of the original founders. Oh, please do not touch the microphone. I'm sorry. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have, and I couldn't hear you.
All right. Is CCTV, is it a nonprofit 501c3
organization? Yes. Yes.
Corporation? Yeah. Are you allowed to make a profit?
We don't make a profit.
You don't have a profit. Then there's a budget through the county for operating expenses, right, CAO, for CCTV?
Not for CCTV, for public access television studio.
Yeah, those are different then. That's what I wanted to make clear. Okay, so we're talking CCTV is a separate entity from public access TV.
Very separate. One is a 50c3, one is an organization under the county. CCTV owns the studio, and public access television rents or leases the studio from them. What they are willing to do is purchase the land under the studio, CCTV, and donate both the studio and the land to the county.
Okay, what does CCTV stand for?
Calaveras Community Television.
Okay.
Well, we have our actual title is Calaveras Community Television PEG Access, which is Public and Education and Government Access, which means you have access to the airwaves or the studio or whatever. The public has access.
I noticed Mr. Lark said you do a very fine job there, by the way. But one question. I noticed the advertising on public access TV. Do we derive any income from that advertising, or is that just part of our PATV program?
Yes, there are limitations that we can do as far as advertising. The ones that you've seen, in other words, the little still pictures that come on periodically, we can promote nonprofit organizations and charitable organizations. That's all. But we're very restricted on promoting anything that involves a profit for some organization or business.
Is there political?
Oh, no. We do have debates at certain times, as some of you know. But we also open the studio for opposite viewpoints, and we have to keep that very balanced.
So the purchase of this property would greatly enhance your ability to perform as far as your financial status situation, as far as PATV, right?
Buying the property, of course, completes the whole package. And I don't think that the county would feel positive toward taking on a building without the land under it. And so we wanted to try to make as complete and clean as possible to make it available to the county to take it over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. Thank you.
So you're going to donate the land and the studio to the county if we accept this. Just want to follow it all. We will no longer pay the $18,000 lease payment, but if there are improvements like moving of this water line, we're on the hook for that.
No. Prior to purchase of the land, the water line will be moved at the expense of CCTV and the lot line adjustment and recording the easement. All that will be done prior to donating the land and studio to the county. This is not accepting the donation. This is a resolution of commitment saying that if all that is accomplished by CCTV, then the board, then the county will accept the donation in the future. And yes, the $18,000 lease payment will go away, but the county will be required to insure the studio, and any repairs to the studio will then become the responsibility of the county.
Okay. So the building will still be owned by CCTV?
No, they are donating both the building and the land once the land is purchased.
We'll just have the insurance and the maintenance on the building on the property.
But in just recent years, we've replaced the roof, painted the exterior of the building, replaced the air conditioning and heating system. It's a big unit. We last year put in new carpeting. So there's very little as far as maintenance that will be needed for many years to come.
Question, CEO. I understand through reading through the documentation here that the $18,000 designated funds for the lease will be put into a fund now for the maintenance and upkeep. Is that correct?
No, that's what currently the lease payments to CCTV, they're required to put that into a special fund for, once the mortgage was paid off on the building, for the upkeep of the studio. And that is how they paid for the roof, the carpeting, the HVAC system. Once those lease payments go away, that $18,000 can be used to run the studio or whatever, because we won't be making those lease payments.
Okay. Thank you.
If I might make one comment, and that is I calculated all of the expenses on the building in the past 20 years and then averaged it out. And if you paid or put in a fund $200 a month, that would take care of everything, rather than $1,800 or $1,500 a month that you're paying now.
No. What are we going to do with the extra money, guys?
Give it back to the taxpayer.
Don't ask it that.
I'd like to thank CCWD and Dave for showing up. Thank you. I see this as a community effort, and I think CCWD should be congratulated for stepping up to the plate on this. And I want to once again, the job that Mr. Lark does down there with our PATV program is outstanding. Don't change anything.
Thank you.
So Ed, I have a question. You called me maybe 2-3 months ago and talked about the water line.
Yes.
You guys still plan on doing that?
Not through your property. There was an alternative routing that was less expensive.
Okay.
But as soon as we know that you seem favorable to, this resolution, we'll go right ahead, and within a month, in about a month, that water line will be rerouted.
All right. Less expensive. I was doing it for free.
Okay. I have a follow-up question. Yes. I like this maybe.
Yes.
No. First of all, I want to thank him, and I think that lady's over there and so on. Other one, fantastic. But I want to clarify one thing. This organization was fired by CCWD a couple of months back. It's going to do their own TV. So before you fall into tears. CCW can't do these good folks. They're going to do their own. So let's get them on the level, okay? Before you go knee-jerking to CCWD. They fired these folks, kicked them out of CCWD, their building. They're going to do their own. So keep that in mind.
And if I could just interject real quickly on that, I want to be clear we didn't in any way, shape, or form fire CCTV, and instead to save costs associated with providing the video audio feed for the service, which we see as very valuable, we elected to purchase our own cameras so that we could do that in-house, and those videos are still being, thanks to Mr. Lark and his people there, they're still putting that on CCTV, so that's still a service. But again, I appreciate you considering this. I think the most important part of this is to make sure that whatever happens with the parcel, if we're able to sell the parcel in the old headquarters building, that the next owner won't have the ability to come in and do something that none of us would want to see, and that could be forcing CCTV to find another home. It's just too important for that. So thank you.
Ed, do you know about the easement that comes down the back of that, the lot that's above you? There is the easement that comes down the back of
Where the
lot
power line
right
comes
above.
through? Where the
Yeah.
power line comes through, yeah.
So that's all okay?
That we did consider that at one time, but found an alternative way of doing it, which was better, and we didn't have to go through a private party's land, and so it was just much cleaner.
Okay.
The access to your studio actually goes through other CCWD property, and that's
There will be actually an access easement that will be established ahead of time, well before you receive the property, and that will be recorded with the county. So everything is set on that. We don't have to
because it'd be landlocked if it weren't.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing all this work, Ed. We appreciate it. And I already
Thank
know
you.
who did all the work.
Well, you encourage me to do that. Thank you. Anything else?
Anything else from you?
No, just
I would
thank
like-
you.
I would like to make a comment, and that is that CCTV has gone through the process of reproducing thousands of DVDs that are available at the library and at the Historical Society, so that anyone can check them out and see past programs, and they have a whole list of all of the thousands of programs that we have.
Appreciate that. You guys have done a great service to our community.
One question, please, Lori White from Angels. Why did these lovely people want to do this? Why did they want to give away their land?
Mary, you want to answer that, or shall I?
Well,
No, you go ahead.
Why do you not want to give away land?
Well, the thing is
I
that
don't know. I don't give away land.
why we're doing it is mainly to maintain the continuity and the perpetual use of the studio the way it is now. And Mary and their board, they're getting much older, and they would like to retire from that responsibility.
Okay.
You're welcome.
That's what you call community service and commitment.
Yes. Just in case people don't understand how Calaveras Community Television got started, since I'm one of the founding members, this was instigated by a supervisor, and the economy was in a slump, and he said to Paul Muller, "How much money do you make at that studio?" "We're all volunteers. Nobody makes a dime here." He said, "Well, somebody's got to make some money here." He said, "No, we pay for our own gas. We pay for our own cameras. Everything is a donated item. We just like to see good things happen in the county." So That's what happened. It started that way, and we built the studio with volunteer workers, and one of the supervisors offered us a fellow who spent a half a day and put his crew to work. His name was Gary Hensley Construction, and he built our studio for us, and we got a loan at the bank, and we paid it.
Nice.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So can I have a motion on this, please?
I so move.
Second.
A motion by Supervisor Olivera, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So it's 3 with 2 absent. In favor. Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Ed.
The next item is from the Public Works Department to review the Calaveras Trans fiscal year 2015-16 mid-year performance report.
Thank you, Jeff Kravitz, Public Works Director. I'm here with Deborah Mullen, our transit manager. And first thing I've got to say is that this mid-year transit report is late by at least 2 months. There's a number of reasons we can give for this, but I don't think that's truly relevant. The period of this mid-year report is from July 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015. We had a few events in that duration, and it has slowed certain processes down within the county following that. What Deborah handed out to you is a couple of updates to the staff report, and these are based on some revenues that we very, very recently received that caused a slight change in the percentages, and I'm talking about 0.1%, less than 0.5% on some of the numbers as a result. The revenue received was basically to a reimbursement during the fire for fuel used when we were using transit buses to help move fire victims around into the local center, the local assistance center, as well as to and from certain shelters. So we received a reimbursement for that, and it had a minor change on our percentages. You will be seeing the final year-end report after the new fiscal year. I'm expecting it to be in the August or early September timeframe. And it will be in a different format and will have different metrics that will be reporting based upon the short-range transit plan that was presented to Board for direction at the end of January and was presented to the COG Board, the COG Council in February. The biggest picture, and Deborah will cover that in more details, is that ridership is down. And once ridership goes down, fare box goes down, your operating costs relative to your number of riders go up. So what was a positive trend prior to the fire is not as positive, but it's not drastic. Some of the numbers appear to be very large, but if you have the difference of one route from 1,600 riders to 1,400 riders, that can be a fairly significant percentage. But lots of reasons for it, and we can discuss some of those if you're interested. Mostly what we're interested in is, if you've had time to review the report, you can certainly pepper us with questions, but I'd like to turn it over to Deborah, and she'll go over some of the highlights.
Thanks, Jeff. Deborah Mullen from Public Works. The performance report that you have that was on the agenda, all the details in that are correct. It was only the staff report that got submitted through the IQM2 before we made the change. And as Jeff said, it was the reimbursement for fuel costs during the fire. So yes, ridership is seriously down. The reasons are not totally clear. The fire had some impact. One event that was canceled due to the fire was the Gold Rush days, and last year we had 758 passengers for that event. Gas prices are down. People maybe can afford to drive. What we'll be doing, hopefully, is revamping the system and building in some limberness so that we can make changes as to the way the population changes. Sometimes there's a lot of students going to the community college, and obviously right now there is not. But as I go around in the community and I talk about transit to different groups, I keep finding, to me, surprising numbers of people that don't know what we have and what it can mean for them. So hopefully we'll be getting more people to share the information about transit and help people make that first step towards getting on the bus and seeing that it's actually quite, can be very convenient and very comfortable. So the numbers at mid-year, we have a 8.78% fare box recovery ratio, falls short of our 10% goal. Last year at mid-year it was 9.82, and we did finish out the year at 10.55%. So we anticipate seeing some improvements in the second half of the year. Operating costs have increased 3.88%. And right now we're looking at the operating cost per vehicle service hour at $108.52. So the fixed route, the ridership down a whopping 32% from the year before. So the report goes into a little bit of detail and narrative about what Calaveras Transit did during the Butte fire, helping people get to the local assistance center here and getting them to their to evacuation centers and back and forth. There were days that transit shut down altogether because of the fire, because of the conditions on the roads. I think all in all there was 88 hours of service that we lost. The report goes into a little bit about the service extensions that were inaugurated over the last 3 years. Most recent being the service extension to Burson. The numbers have been low. Right now, with the way the system is set up, we don't really lose any service hours in providing that service. It's an on-demand service. The bus is going to Valley Springs. If somebody calls to be dropped off or picked up in Burson, it doesn't take any more time. It's the driver would have been on a break during that time. I guess for them, they lose their break. So as we restructure the service, Burson's a candidate for going away. We'll make some efforts to talk to the people and see, make sure that if there are people that want to keep the service, that they speak up and see if there's enough that we could keep it for them. Other alternatives for low-performing routes like that is to work into a totally on-demand or dial-a-ride system. Or what I envision for places like the West Point is to reduce the number of days, but make it more of a on-call. The van's going to come up twice on Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday, or whatever it is, and helps get more people together to make the same trip to add efficiency to the system. In Rancho Calaveras, this is the third year of the service there, and actually inaugurating that service involved total restructuring of Route 1, added more midday runs. That Route 2 had been well-performing, and what we're looking to do for under the recommendations of the short-range transit plan is increasing the frequencies. And there again is something you just have to try, because there may be people that would use the bus if it became more frequent, if they could take it and get back in a few hours after doing their errands. taking care of their errands. So I think that's all I have for this. If you have any specific questions, I'll do my darndest.
Didn't we get a smaller bus going this year? I was thumbing through here quick trying to find it, but I didn't see a notation on it.
Well, all the new buses we've purchased in this last year, and we have some new ones coming next month, are a little bit smaller than the ones we've had. We bought 2 Freightliners that accommodated, I think, 28 passengers, but all the rest of them we've bought have been 24. And then we have the 2 vans, and it's the vans that we're looking at to help get the efficiency up. Okay. Well, I just wanted to kind of off the topic of the performance report. It's just an update from the fair. We ran a bus-free shuttle from back and forth from Angels Camp, and then also from Valley Springs, and also from Arnold. And overall, it was great. We had 608 passengers, which was for a lot of residents and tourists. It was a good introduction to the service. I thought people were real happy, people that I saw on the bus. The Arnold route was noticeably unsuccessful. So, and I think we made a good effort in getting the word out about the availability. So next year, I think we'll keep Valley Springs and, keep Arnold as an option if we get some people that want to, request it.
I rode it from Angels Camp, and the bus actually was fairly full.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I came back, it wasn't quite so full, but it was also 90-plus degrees outside, so maybe they were staying at the fair longer.
Yeah, I rode on one that had, I think, 12 passengers, and then another one coming back that had only 5. Okay.
Well, we're not done, fortunately.
Never
I'm going to be
done.
the bearer of bad news.
Pardon me?
I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. The numbers are presented right here is just, we're going the wrong way, folks.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say we have reason for it. And I don't think because of the fire is that reason. A 42% decrease, actually a 42% increase in costs, 27% decrease in revenue. And I know we're trying everything we possibly can, but we need to develop a plan to make this at least somewhat efficient. Do you have any suggestions other than what we've talked about?
Well, we're going to do a whole system overhaul, and we're going to be bringing it back to you. It'll be a public hearing because it'll be substantial changes in the service. So it'll be a public hearing, and we anticipate having it probably midsummer to be implemented by the late summer, early around September. We're going to crunch the numbers and see what we can come up with and try to capture centers of population that can support the system and do something entirely different with the outskirts. Yeah. And we're going to be partnering. Pardon me?
How old is our fleet? We talked new buses last year. We just got done talking about new buses coming.
Right. We've been replacing the fleet, and that was something that we had gotten behind on. It doesn't save money to run old buses that have exceeded their useful life and are a burden in the shop. We are not growing the fleet. We are replacing it.
I understand. But can we afford to do that now? I mean, with our operations and what they are now, 5.35 riders out of Route 2
Yeah,
this is the San Andreas, Smoke Hill, West Point, Mountain Ranch area. Average daily is 5.35 passengers for that route, compared to what our other routes are. And I know we're not having all routes performing, but compare that to our Valley Springs route, compare that to our Arnold route, Columbia College. I know there's reasons for it, but I think we need to look at those areas that are not performing and make severe adjustments in those areas.
I would have to agree. The public transit service has definitely been in a decline, and these numbers are demonstrating that. Our fleet is nearly new, but the cost of those bus replacements were essentially Prop 1B grants that are at the very end of the program. And so we have no identified method of replacing our fleet 5 years from now when it wears out. Your average life of a transit bus is approximately 5 years. So we don't have an incredible amount of time to figure this out, but the bottom line is that a transit system in a county as far spread as this, with fairly few population centers and also somewhat limited commerce centers, because we don't really, no offense to San Andreas, Angels Camp is a commerce center, Jackson is a commerce center, Sonora is a commerce center, Stockton is a commerce center, but other areas are not. Murphy's more of a tourist center. So what I think we have to look at as we bring this back to you is a transit system that runs the backbone routes. And the backbone routes, from my perspective, is going to be the state highway routes, where we actually have funds to maintain those roads in a condition that you could run transit buses on, and you could increase the number of trips and hopefully increase the number of riders. But our low-performing routes, our remote routes, West Point, for example, those are very difficult because the funding, the subsidies that we have to do for those great distances for very small riders is difficult to justify. And that's not, it's unfortunate that Supervisor Wright is not here. When we brought the short-term transit plan to you as an informational item in January, he was quite concerned about the potential loss of a permanent fixed route to his district. As I would imagine all supervisors for each of your districts would also be very concerned. But we have to have a route, we have to have a transit system, a public transit system that essentially respects the densities and the economics of the passengers, and yet is also limber enough to service the changes to the route. With New College now opening up in Vallecito, we've been looking at establishing a route up there, because your students tend to be a fairly large proportion of our riders, of our ridership within the system. But any additional service that we do on this system is going to have to be met by a commensurate decrease in service at another location.
I would agree with that.
So those are the types of things that we have to bring back. And we also have to bring back a long-term plan that essentially meets the reality of what our situation is. The social services transit entities that are starting to come up and come alive and provide services for, handicapped seniors that require special accommodations, their services are going up and growing. So we're hoping that with a merging or a melding of social services, transportation, as well as public transportation, we can reduce our more expensive routes on public transportation, trying to serve the larger riders on the backbone routes and finding other ways to service passengers on the remote routes. And this is not saying anything at all about the potential effects of the fee-for-hire services such as Uber and Lyft that are right now in their infancy in this county, that are just starting. and they're going to have an effect and an impact on our system. So it's really important that we define our system to be fluid and limber, and that it can change rapidly to meet specific needs where the higher riderships are, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to service the largest number of people in the greatest amount of need.
I agree with the concept, but unfortunately, when you have $537,000 in costs and revenue of $46,000, we have problems.
We do.
I don't have the answer.
Right.
But I'm hopeful that we can work together and find an answer. And it may mean cutting some of these services down to bare bones.
Absolutely correct.
I'm aware of that. And
so
times are going to be tough.
And I don't see, fortunately or unfortunately, within the transportation funding scenario here in California, transit services are easier to fund. Your maintenance, your operations, your capital, they're easier to fund than the roads in a rural county. That's fortunate. Unfortunately, we're a very, very small system, and the vast majority of the funds go to the urban areas, where the vast majority of riders are. And you have huge dollars going into large systems. Los Angeles is spending incredible amounts of money on their light rail systems right now. And new routes are opening up this summer that have never been opened for nearly 100 years in that area. Expansions to large transit systems in the San Francisco, the Bay Area, are also capturing a large amount of money. I spent 2 days in a transportation funding class 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately the news is that the majority of the funding up and down the state are going to the urban areas, and they're going to the urban transit systems. They're not going to the outlying areas and the small population centers. So it will be a struggle for us in the next 3 to 5 years. And I wish I could say I see transportation funding changing in the state of California in the next 3 to 5 years, but I don't. I think it's going to take a minimum of 5 years before we see any changes, and it has to start legislatively, both federally and state.
Well,
it's going to be any better.
That serves notice to everybody in our county, everybody in this state, and the folks out there. This is not a local problem solely. We have to be talking to our state representatives to hear our voice, because the numbers don't lie.
Mm-mm. And efficiency is important, and we want to be as efficient as we can possibly be. And I believe that we have improved our efficiency, our operational efficiency, in terms of our costs for our vehicle service hours. But if we can't replace the buses, and we have no funds to replace the buses 5 years from now, it doesn't matter how efficient we are.
I agree with you. I understand.
Okay, so changes will be coming, and we will be bringing the changes to this board, because this board is the board who has the decision-making power on the operation of public transit in Calaveras County.
Just so you know, your efforts are not unnoticed.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Also, it's my understanding that Paratransit has also tried this effort of reducing costs. Is that correct?
Well, we brought the revised contract to you, which was accepted. That was last summer. And we did reduce the cost of that operating contract by $4 a vehicle service hour. That does have an impact. And we have looked at some of our numbers as we are approaching the 10 and 11 month actuals, and our costs, our operating costs are down. But before I get too deeply into that, I'd rather complete the year, get our actuals completed, so all the bills have come in and been paid, so we have actual numbers that we can use when we bring back to you revisions to this system.
We'll be looking forward to that. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Any public comment?
I'm sorry.
That's debatable.
Yeah, good evening, Dennis Mills, Vallecito.
This is something that I had a chance to discuss at some length with my wife this evening, even before I came here. And this is an issue that literally ridership is dependent upon convenience. And convenience for the general population means stability of that convenience as well. So we start moving routes around, we start changing schedules and times and locations, and people can be confused very quickly. But to say that there's an offset of if we do this, it's going to cost us more over here, we're going to have to reduce the service over there, I'm not in that mode at all. I had a fleet of 400 vehicles in Central California, so I know how to run a fleet. And that's really what this is running a fleet and running it efficiently. I think we need to talk to the Chamber of Commerce. I think we need to talk to the business associations here in the communities. We need to talk to the businesses themselves and ask them, how can we get somebody from Vallecito to, say, Coppertown Square to have lunch and maybe stop at the supermarket down there instead of going to Saymart and then coming back. But right now, the way the routes are set up, it's not convenient to do that. So we have older folks that would prefer not to drive, that literally are forced to drive because the routes are not convenient for them. So they're the ones that really have to be asked the question is, what are we going to be able to do to encourage you to get on this bus versus take your car? And if we go in that direction and do a little SWOT exercise with this and start to think a little bit beyond the box, maybe we can come up with some answers that will benefit everybody, and not just the riders, but also to the businesses to where they're going at the same time, and not just doctors, but businesses. Take advantage of it. Okay?
My name is David White from Angels Camp. I don't know a county anywhere, including my homeland, that ever ran a bus service at a profit. And I think that probably goes for just about every country that runs a bus service. We've got several problems trying to run a bus service, but we don't recognize what it costs to run a bus service. So what we're saying to these people is, you only got $45,000 in income, but you spent $500,000. Well, is that his fault, or is it your fault for allowing it to go on all this time? Why aren't you as a board saying to the county, and if that means you have to come up with an idea and bring people in to discuss this problem, then get rid of the bus service, because you obviously don't want to keep putting $500,000 into a bus service that's making you $45,000 a year. Someone has to give, someone has to decide at the kind of level that you guys are at. And you can't say with respect that we're supervisors. You are in effect running this county. And this is an issue that needs dealing with, because there are a great many people in every county who need public transport some kind or another. I'm just sorry that a friend didn't come to you and slap his hand on the table and say, this is what we need to do, what are you going to do about it? You can't keep sending people away and saying, go find me a solution. Who do you want to find a solution? It's no good with respect. You're obviously good with numbers, and my wife is good with numbers too. But we have to decide, number one, do we want a transit service? Number two, how are we going to do it? Because at this moment, it's the blind leading the blind gentleman. He can't do it because he can't get enough passengers, and you're not doing it because you're not getting together as a group and saying, what the hell are we going to do about this bus service? And then going to the Works Department and saying, this is what we need. What are you going to do about it?
30 seconds.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
I'm Peter Reyes from General. I presume you have to have public transportation in the county. It's a federal mandate or something that you're required to have it. Because another thing is that in your general plan, you have a bicycle path that's supposed to be, so they're supposed to take care of it. You're paying a lot of money for somebody to get a bicycle path. They have no problem going down. I just don't know how they're going to make up. Also, it was not mentioned that the gas price, fuel prices went down quite a bit. So that might help the numbers a little bit. This is a losing proposition, no matter what. It's just a question of minimizing the loss. And I mean, it might be bad PR for you to with some constituents in your particular district, folks, but other case comes from federal state money or local money. It's a losing proposition. You don't have to look too far. Look at the screwed up position they have in Park now. And the public director went down to look at what LA is doing. LA is putting 4-lane freeway, they're going to cut off 2 high-speed roads, one for walking and one for bicycling. They want to build a new tunnel. They need to build another tunnel under the particular freeway. This is crazy. There's only one public transportation organization that's making money on one particular route in the whole country. In the whole country. And that's in the Northwest, where all the publicly employed politicians drive to the CD, where they sell $18 hamburgers and so on. That's the only place they make money, and not the whole company, just one particular route in the whole country. It's a losing proposition. Some people decided to live up in the boonies. Bless their heart, they have every right to do it. But it's not my responsibility why he's going to get his ass down or back up. You know? I mean, it's nice to be generous when you're an elected official. And I don't envy you. And putting in a public directors, he doesn't like this idea either, because in normal, real life, an activity like this, you continue, you would be out selling pencils on the front door.
30 seconds.
Because the people who are really getting the shaft on this whole deal is the taxpayers. I don't care if it's the left pocket, right pocket, or the back pocket. So, I don't envy you, I understand it, but this guy has to change. You can't afford it. And if you think the state has extra money it's going to give you, wake up.
Rebecca Callan, Auditor Controller. I do just want to emphasize the fact that the Board of Supervisors did support the county efficiency model back on the January 26, 2016 meeting. And we have had discussions with the Administrative Office and Public Works to discuss the concerns in the reduction of the ridership, because it truly is lower than it has been in years. It's not like it's just a year-over-year trend. This has been an ongoing trend. So the importance of the Board of Supervisors understanding the urgency here is that, number one, there's likely going to need to be a general fund contribution for this fiscal year to close it out because of loss of funding. And that's going to mean that there's going to need to be some significant urgent changes in the transit operations budget in order to make do without another general fund contribution for the next fiscal year. So unless the board is wanting to start funding the transit system, changes are going to need to be made very, very quickly. And it's concerning to me that the board did support an efficiency model on January 26th, but we have, for the most part, continued with operations the way that it was, knowing that RISHIP was going down. So it's extremely important that this gets addressed quickly, and it also gets addressed before the beginning of the next fiscal year.
Thank you. So, Rebecca, what would have been the difference?
I think, at the point that they met, and you saw the short-term or the short-range transit plan, it was discussed in there the cost of it was the vehicle service hour at that time that they had looked at was 108, something like that. Our kind of sister counties were about 89 per service hour.
That was Stanislaus.
But so we knew we weren't going to be able to go down that low. The budget that was passed for 15-16 when it originally got passed was something like $127 per vehicle service hour, and then they brought back some changes to bring it down to $123, but we knew when the budget was passed for 15-16 that we were already going to be significantly over the 108. Now, they're going to make some reductions in this fiscal year, but it's still not going to be sufficient to not have to ask the Board of Supervisors for additional funding.
Correct.
So do you
Whether-
at that point reduce your routes at that
Whether we would
point?
have considered anything else but the efficiency model or not, we're still in the same boat. It would have changed it.
We could have potentially changed service routes, and they would have had to come to you, and if you guys
Efficiency model
decided,
would not have changed that.
them coming forward to ask you to reduce a route would have reduced
And
costs.
that's exactly what they're in the middle of doing. That's what they're doing right now.
Likely not this fiscal year. So what I'm saying is, you're going to have to fund transit for this year, for a portion of this year.
Before the end of June?
Before the end of June. And so what I'm emphasizing, I think we estimated about 50,000.
That was at the last meeting. I know that Public Works has been looking at those numbers and are coming up with more updated numbers. I have not had a chance to speak with them today because I was at other meetings, but plan to before tomorrow night's meeting.
So with the new budget, we better really take a good look at it.
That will probably change a little bit.
It will have to change significantly because of the funding structure. So there needs to be a change, for sure. Unless the board wants to fund transit, which that's why you guys are paid the big bucks. So if you want to fund transit, then fund transit. But historically, the general fund has not had to fund non-general fund departments like that, especially an enterprise fund. So I'm just emphasizing that if it continues to go this way, the way that it's going, you will be funding transit.
Well, historically, we've had a lot more money coming from the state through transportation funding, which has been cut back tremendously.
And I've known for 4 years that was coming.
So, great. So, but I'm telling you that the efficiency model that we chose has no bearing at all on what happens with this budget cycle, because these folks are being as efficient as possible. The other efficiency model chosen would still be trying to figure out what to do with it, because that was just basically a consultant with an idea that was chosen from Stanislaus County, from a county that was 888,000 people, not even close to a 44,000 person county, not even a good comparison. We have an issue because we're a small county with a transit system that doesn't work because we don't have the money to fund it, period. And we're getting less and less funding from the state.
You're absolutely right.
That's it,
and
right there.
every department is in that same circumstance, and each of us department heads are having to run our departments with the revenue and the resources that we have. So I expect every department to be able to do that and not come at the midnight hour realizing that we need to now scramble to try to figure out how they're going to be funded by the end of the year. It doesn't matter if you're the Sheriff's Department or the Auditor Controller's Office or Transit or County Council. We are limited to what we are approved as part of budget. So if I realize that my expenditures are going to exceed what my approval is and what I am available in terms of resources, then I have to make operational changes within my department. Each department head has to do that. So I'm stressing that that needs to happen.
I'm sure they're right in the middle of it.
And that's a point well taken. I know that we look at this every year, and we'll have to take a harder look at it.
Just a quick word, please. Lori White from Angels Camp. I know this is a dilemma for everyone, but with all due respect to our controller, it's much easier to budget the number of accountants that you're going to need to hire or accounting clerks than it is to run a bus service, because you don't know how many bus passengers that you're going to have. A problem that's faced at every board of supervisors within the state of California. I don't know because I haven't been here long enough, but has a committee been appointed to work with the Public Works to try and come up with you're never going to fund it, but some kind of solution to to a little closer balance the books?
This has been an ongoing issue for many years, actually. And and this year is even worse because of many reasons. The fire, the contribution from the state because of the reduction in transportation funding and so on and so forth. I believe that they run, they have a pretty good model for reduction. It's pretty hard for them to act immediately, but I believe they're paying attention. In Rebecca's, in defense of Rebecca, I'd say her department is just as hard to figure out this stuff as anybody else, because she has to rely on. Every department here has the same challenge. I'll say that, and so we are just basically in a state of trying to survive and make do with what we have. And sometimes it's very challenging, and I think that we need to just work.
But is there an existing committee that works with public boards?
They have the COG works with them, and then they also have other committees that work with them. Yes.
Okay. I was just noticing two gentlemen here tonight who have fleet management experience.
Are you aware of the Calaveras Council of Governments that meets it? It will be here in the same room tomorrow.
So yeah, we're going through this again tomorrow.
At 5:30. And we do spend quite a bit of time on the transportation issues.
Okay.
So you may...
you will see us.
And hopefully the air conditioning will be on tomorrow evening in here also.
Yeah, this is way better.
You're going to employ your constituents at the air conditioning too.
Well, it was pretty miserable the last time I went to one of those.
Okay, any other comments?
Tanya Dawson from Valley Springs. And again, this is a charity. It's not the government's role to be providing free transportation for people or inexpensive or subsidized transportation for people. I had to figure out how to get my transportation, and that's up to other people too. If I choose to put my money toward funding people or helping people with rides, that's my business. It's my money, I earn it, and I should be able to choose what charities I support. Those that want to support this program are free to spend their own money and time, energy, and talent and contribute to the program and helping others with rides. But the threat of violence against peaceful people shouldn't be used to extract their money to fund programs you feel are important. And that's what the government does. It uses the threat of violence against people to extract their money to fund programs. And that shouldn't be used for charity. It should just be used for just basic function of government. And this is exactly why the government shouldn't be in the public transportation business. It's failing. If this was a private company being run this way, people would be fired. And so this is just not how I want my tax money spent. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Yes. Did you comment once on this already, sir? Did you comment once already?
I did.
There's one comment per
Okay.
per subject per night.
So you go to the next item.
Yeah, next item you'll get your chance again. Once you get experience, you kind of like Peter does. He just starts off with one that leads into the same thing again. So. All right. That's
no action required.
No action required on that. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I hope that we'll hear more soon. Right.
Item 5 is from the Administrative Office to receive a report from the board chair, department heads, Cal OES, and FEMA update on Butte fire recovery.
Since Tomas is not here, I guess I will fill in at least initially. We got word today that both SP 1118 and AB 2314 did not make it out of Appropriations Committee. Those were the bills that we had before the Appropriations Committee requesting a waiver of the relief from the 6.25% match for the Butte Fire and the relief of property taxes. So unfortunately, they did not want to set a precedent. The good news is Lake County didn't receive their bills to make it out of appropriations either.
So that would be the other bad news.
Yeah. On Thursday afternoon, Supervisor Kearney and I and a number of other people, and Jason may want to speak to the issue, were out at the end of Baker Riley Road for the last load and the debris cleanup. Jason, do you want to speak to that?
When she says the end, she means
the end.
Jason Bates, Calaveras County Environmental Management Agency. Thank you guys for attending the last load. I was at meetings and out of town, so that was a good event that turned out. There's a nice article in the Enterprise, but ironically, it's not the last load. We actually had our last and final property that we were having troubles getting the ROE signed by the property owner came in today. So we were able to convince Cal Recycle that there will be a few more loads going down the road, but that property should be cleaned up by, I would say, the end of this week. So it was a property off of Old Greek Mine Road. So with that being said, I hate to say this because I said it before, but what we have on record and properties and, using GIS and everything else and the public and the citizens of potential properties that are out there, this is the last property. So with that being said, we'll have pretty much 100% compliance. Now, there may be some that are way out there that we don't know about, but this will be the last property along with 2 properties that we are still going through the self-certification process. So I apologize that we thought it was going to be the last load because we were having a hard time tracking this person down, but with staff's persistence and Mel being the persuasive person that he is, my contract employee, we were able to get that last ROE. So
good.
And it was a really nice event. It was pretty amazing to watch the trucks back down a very narrow, very steep hill, dirt road to get to the bridge so that the tractor could load those up. So it really was amazing to watch them do that.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to show all the hard work that went in by all the people that participated, the state agencies, the contractors, the local people that were trained to be part of the process, and then just the public support and patience throughout the process because it was a little bit longer than we anticipated, but to me, it's been a positive program with a good outcome to help restore the community. So.
It's been a long road. I remember the first 2. I was one up off of Rocky Road, and one off of Jesus Maria, first 2. And so I went to both of those. Everything was still smoking back then. Wow. So thanks, Jason, for your crews. And they did a fine job. And I know that there's still a few hanging out there that you're working on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the board's support, so I appreciate it.
So what are you going to do next?
Well, there's a number of projects that we're working on, but part of the process is not over. We still have an RFP that will be going out for the invoicing for the insurance money. So as much as the debris removal is complete, the project isn't 100% complete until we invoice the insurance. So that is still out there. What's that?
That's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, we're going to be moving a contract forward to hire a consultant to assist us with that. Just don't have the staff for that, but we'll be moving that forward. And but we cannot move that forward until we actually receive the invoices from the state agency for the cost for each individual parcel.
Good job, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Jason, what about have you been working in conjunction with Jeff on the roads?
Yeah.
Some of the issues around that. What about some of the properties? We made a promise the other day. You weren't here. To one of the ladies that were out here. When they did her property, they left a pretty good sized hole. Are you guys going to look into that?
We've been addressing those complaints as they come in. For instance, the Ponderosa Way, we were waiting for the state to get some execute a contract to pave a portion of that road. Due to delays, the team, I just got an email today that they're going to be moving forward with fixing the potholes until a permanent repair is made for that way. Individual complaints that have come into the department, we've been addressing one by one, whether it was caused by the debris removal vehicles or other emergency response vehicles, PG&E, logging trucks, and addressing those as they come in. And so far, the state has been responsive and the contractor in making those repairs, especially on the gravel driveways.
All right. So what I was talking about also was on the home site itself. Where they had to dig.
Oh, yeah. We had 2 of those that, and I need to verify, but from what I understand, those were taken care of. So where they dug deep excavations due to foundations or basement, they were able to.
I'll be contacting with you then. I have 2 more.
Do you have 2 more? Okay. Let me know so we can follow up with that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Jason.
Jeff Kravitz, Public Works. I don't have much to add since the last report, budget meeting. The arborist contract, which is a little bit misleading, it is a professional services contract to document GPS, identify dead trees along public roads and adjacent to public roads on private property that have the potential to fall and impact public roads. That program is moving forward. The award of the contract will be in front of this board on the 14th of June. And we will follow within 2 to 3 board meetings with a number of contracts for tree removal. We have to complete the arborist work prior to doing the actual construction, which is the removal of the trees. So those 2 things are back to back. And then early fall, we will be following up with a project management consultant for the roadway repairs and some of the grant-funded programs.
So on the arbors, I know you're doing an arbors contract on the 14th. That's coming. I know that. As far as your tree removal, right? Are we putting something in? Are we getting a consultant for that and putting that in place now?
We're working on the RFP. The construction contract for that. We would like to hand out several contracts to do this based upon roads that need the trees removal. We don't want contracts fighting over each other and claiming delays attempting to use the same roads. So we're trying to execute a number of small contracts that have essentially a clear path to get in and out of the burn area, as well as some larger contracts to take care of an entire area, for example, Jesus Maria and its tributaries.
So who's handled the, are you guys managing that out of your department, the RFP, all those are RFPs?
Currently we are. We're hoping that once we get the project management consultant on board, when we move on to the road repair contracts, which will be a number of those for our public assistance roads as well as ER roads, assuming the matches can be found, we will hand out a number of contracts with that, and we're hoping that the project management consultant can help us, because right now I am utilizing one hired consultant and then our deputy director to do a lot of this work, and then I'm doing the pieces that I can.
All right, so would you mind if we had a meeting about that, please?
Not at all.
In the summer of 2014, Highway 26 from Toyon to West Point was basically completely redone and resurfaced. I'm going on it now, and I see that they've already started a lot of patchwork. So they've already started to repair the abuse it took from all the trucks.
Caltrans, as part of their shop programs, get state funding, which is actually coming from the federal government, which is gas tax, on a couple of flavors that get then redistributed back to the counties, the cities, and Caltrans for this work. So this is, for the most part, ongoing work, and the structural sections for the state highways are much sturdier than they are on our county roads, and they progressively get worse as we move on towards those very, very rural roads that are unpaved. So, yes, this has been in the overlay on 26 that's going on right now, and there's going to be places that will start. There's places on 49 that are getting overlaid. There's safety projects on 49. These are ongoing Caltrans shop projects, so that they come up when the damage gets to a certain point. So it's preparatory for that.
What a shame, thinking we just redid it all 2 years ago, but at least we're able to fix it.
Well, with that money, with the money that Caltrans is getting, they have the money to do the overlays, that's for sure. So, I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you did driving in, that the overlay at the intersection of 1226 is now done. And it actually looks a lot better than it did 2 weeks ago.
I saw.
And
I watched them do that night.
Good.
3 nights or 4 nights, right? They did it.
Yeah. And then
the amount of people that were working.
And I forward to Supervisor Kent Kearney and Chair Edson an email I received from Caltrans this evening concerning the San Andreas area. The intersection where left-hand turn pockets are going at St. Andrews on 26, and that starts on the 6th.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you. That's good.
I will schedule a meeting with you, Supervisor Chair. Anybody else that you'd like to include?
No.
Okay.
Supervisor Oliver.
Okay. So Edson and Oliver. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6 is from the Auditor Controller to approve the Butte Fire Mutual Aid payments to the County of San Joaquin, City of Folsom, Stanislaus County, Sacramento County, Tuolumne County, City of Fresno, El Dorado County, and Los Angeles County in excess of $50,000 as attached, totaling $830,074.96.
And I needed to modify the amount to increase it $300.01. So it would be $830,374.97. This is mutual aid that.
1 cent.
That's what I want. And the $300. This was mutual aid that came in our purchasing policy. It states that we have authorizing limits. The CAO's limit is $50,000. These were bills that came in that were beyond that amount, and so we need your approval in order to get them approved.
And where do these funds come from?
These are, I put in a claim through the state and FEMA in order to use the public assistance grant and CDAA funds to pay for this from the Butte Fire.
Have they done this already? Or?
This is work that they did between September 9th and September 25th.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm saying, the money is in our checking account already before we send this?
We're using the advance that we received. We received $2.9 million from the state of California early on, if you recall.
Yes.
So we're using that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Auditor Callen, this covers public safety, fire, and law enforcement.
Only law enforcement.
So it's only the responders, the first responders that came in?
It's the mutual aid respondents through law enforcement, yes. There's also, actually that's not true, also we received mutual aid through emergency management to assist Jason Bietzer's shop in that aspect. So it's both.
All right. Any public comments on this? Okay. Bring it back to the board, please. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Supervisor Oliveira, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So it's 3 and 2 absent. Okay, we're on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Any member of the public wishes to remove the consent agenda item? No? Okay. How about the board?
Number 8, number 9.
Number 11.
Okay. Any others? Okay. Number 8. Wait, before I do that.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended by the items pulled.
All right, so we're going to approve 7, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
And 10.
And 10. Yep.
A second?
So we have a second by Supervisor, a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Olivera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So it's 3 and 2 absent.
So number 8 is an item from the sheriff to approve and authorize the sheriff to sign cooperative law enforcement agreements with the Department of Interior, United States Forest Service for the provision of patrol services and for the investigation and removal of controlled substance on federal forest land during the 2015 federal fiscal year.
Okay.
Good evening, Captain. How are you?
Good evening, Jim Macedo, Sheriff's Office.
2015 fiscal year, is that a typo?
It's not. It's actually the fiscal year. It's a 2016 contract, but it's how they allocate their funding.
Okay.
I thought it was originally too. I caught it when I read
I
it.
wanted that. Second issue, removal of controlled substance.
Yes.
Are we looking at any federal help in our programs involved in the county? I know we're dealing strictly with public federal lands on this particular issue. Can we see anything helping the county in this type of area?
In addition to these funds, we received some funding from DEA that we specifically dedicate towards removal of marijuana, but not just specifically on federal lands.
Okay. Good. That's all I had.
Good. Okay. Any public comments? Board comments? Other than that? All right. I have a motion.
So move.
Second.
So I have a motion by Supervisor Olivera and second by Supervisor Kearney to approve and authorize the sheriff to sign cooperative law enforcement agreements with the Department of Interior, United States Forest Service for the provision of patrol services and for the investigation and removal of controlled substance on federal forest land during the 2015 federal fiscal year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you.
Item 9 is from the Administrative Office to approve an amendment to the lease agreement between County of Calaveras and Julia Moore, Donald Myers, and Marcia Myers for Calaveras County Health and Human Service Agency office space located at 291 Main Street, Unit A, West Point, California.
Okay. Who pulled it?
I pulled it. Supervisor Olivera. Question, I guess, CAO, can you have me? You might be able to answer this. We have a satellite office for human services in West Point.
We do.
And how long have we had that office?
It's probably been, this particular lease was from September 2014.
Okay. And is there a specific purpose for having an office up there?
It is. It's to provide outreach. We have satellite offices to provide outreach in a number of communities because it is a challenge sometimes for the clients of Health and Human Services to make it down to San Andreas, given bus schedules. But it's an effort to provide the outreach and services 1 or 2 days a week, depending on the area.
Okay. Do we have a budget for this particular office, and is it effective?
It is. It's been very effective. The outreach office has been extremely effective, and it is part of the overall budget of Health and Human Services that receives the majority of the funding from the state and federal government. The only difference on this lease is that we're changing who the payments are being made to. The lease is with 3 different people who own the land. The person we have been making the payments to in the past has health issues, and the request has been made to make it future payments to one of the other persons on that lease.
I apologize personally because I probably should have picked it up through my board packet information, but I can't seem to get that information to come up on my iPad.
I'm sorry. But it does say in the board packet that that is the reason for it. This is an ongoing lease. We're simply changing the name of the person that is going to be our main contact and who will be making those payments to.
And we have other satellite offices in other districts also.
We certainly do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, so I read it as just a change just from Julia Moore to what?
To Donald Myers.
Myers, yeah. And that was the only change that I see. Okay. Any public comments?
Peter Ray's gentleman. I keep hearing something. Well, it's not a big deal. It doesn't come out of general fund. But folks, there's no such thing as free lunch. Your constituents still paying for it. It's still coming. If it's feds, they're either going to deeper in a hole or putting more expense for the future generation. You are not getting anything as a gift. Organized laborers will not cut into their pension program because their pension program is so far in a hole, it's unbelievable. There is no such thing as free lunch. I mean, I know you want to cover your general funds, and it's great. But whatever generosity, an elected official, and compassion, expressing it to the public and to that camera, is still coming from your constituents. The state is broke. The feds are broke. And unless you want to speed up to be like Puerto Rico or Venezuela, you're spending money that you don't have. You go wipe your hands in a bathroom with a paper towel, that's the taxpayers paying for it. That's fine. I don't make it as has to be a profit-making organization. But at least you can make it somewhat cost-effective. It would be nice to see cost-benefit and analyzing it. You hear about things that, hey, that's great, unemployment is down, but they never tell you how much is welfare is up. California got to be the worst state, achieved the worst state status in the whole country as far as economical opportunities. And in the meantime, the Fed's going to be changing. Hopefully it's changing. Otherwise, goodbye. At the federal level, EPA just got a big bag, got slapped pretty hard by the Supreme Court. That's going to change things. Hopefully, it took a long time to get here. It's going to take a long time to get out of here. And more people realizing it. You're not spending, I don't care if it's a grant, it doesn't affect the general fund, that's a bunch of bull money. You're still getting it from your constituents. And what's really bad is how they distribute it. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Board comments? No. Okay. No. So as I understand this is a budgeted item. There's a change in the lease agreement that was already in the budget. It's $350 a month. That's the lease agreement for this space up there that a person from Health and Human Services goes up and treats people up there so that they don't have to bring them down here. And so, but it's just a name change on the lease agreement. It's not a change in the cost. It's the same cost that was budgeted already. It's just a name change on the lease agreement. And that's what we're talking about here on this budget item. So, okay. Can I have a motion, please?
Go ahead, folder. Oh, I so move.
Second.
A motion by Supervisor Calaveras, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So it's 3 yes and 2 absent.
Item 11, I was asked to pull that from the Public Works Department. The item is to adopt a resolution summarily vacating a portion of a road and public utility easement located at 465 Apple Drive in Hathaway, Prince. The reason that they would like to have the item pulled was that the property owner's name was added to the resolution today. So the resolution that was in your packet has been modified by adding the person's name. In the fourth whereas due to the terrain, Mark Boudart, the owner has requested that the 30-foot half-width portion of the easement along parcel D be vacated to improve a garage and shop structure, accepting therefrom the portion of the right-of-way for the turning circle and the 30-foot wide extension of eastern right-of-way for Apple Drive. Exhibit A.
Okay. Public comments? Board?
We're just amending it, correct?
We're just adding the person's name to the resolution so the document can be recorded.
Okay, sure.
No, I haven't any problems.
I move to approve as amended.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Supervisor Kearney to move to adopt the resolution summarily vacating a portion of the road and public utility easement located at 465 Apple Drive in Hathaway Pines with the as amended. And second by Supervisor Oliveira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So it's 3 yes, 2 absent. And so now we're down to supervisor announcements.
I'll start.
Okay.
Being Memorial Weekend, I attended several functions. Also attended the Love Creek Homeowners Association annual meeting where we discussed road conditions and things of maybe our right-of-way clearing, which we're doing, I guess, with CCW through Public Works. Good program. There are some concerns on some road repairs up there. There is some concern on emergency evac routes, things of that sort, which we discussed, and we're making progress. I have spoke to our director, Mr. Krovitz, about this, and he's going to provide some information that we can take back to folks. In future, I'd like to mention that I would be interested in looking into several different issues, that being our transient occupant tax situation after our budgets. I'd like to look into some other issues, but I'll save that for a later time. Thank you.
Seems like we were just here.
We were.
Yeah. I went and attended a Memorial Day service at the Jenny Lynn IWF cemetery. It's always a good event, but a solemn event to go to. They read the names of everyone that's in there, including our first responders that have been interned there. This week I have a COG meeting, which will be in this room tomorrow at 5:30, which I brought up earlier. On Thursday, I have a JPA 12 board meeting in Sonora, and a Commission on Aging meeting, which I attend as a de facto member on Friday. I want to remind everybody that I am the chair of the Solid Waste Task Force. We're doing a lot of work on our landfill issues, and they are big. There is a request we're doing a study is going to be done as to the future of our landfill, and if you have any additions to that, you could email me or things that you want to know about, or probably even the Public Works Department. And that's it.
Okay, great. So on the 26th, I attended a water forum in Tuolumne County, It's at Sonora at the Innovation Lab. So I was invited to speak on the watershed management program and the RCD, which we're currently have on our ballot, which I'm hoping that everybody votes for out there. Please vote for the Resource Conservation District, Measure A. And it was well received. People there are very interested in proper management of watershed. CCWD was there representing a water district in our county. We had Steve Christensen was there with the water school, and TID was there, or TUD, I think it is. Tuolumne was there. There was, water agencies there. It was a really good forum. Very interesting. I also attended the CHS Awards, or Calaveras High School Awards Academy, like I mentioned earlier, to give out the civic engagement awards to 20 top students with their volunteer hours, along with Stacy Johnston, who is the executive director for the Calaveras Chamber of Commerce. She's also involved in that program, and along with Jim Pisos, who actually spoke today in public comments. And Jim is a very active person. He's a retired school teacher and very active in civic engagement with the high school. Really neat guy. Really neat guy. So I'm real happy to work with him. And Stacy is too. So there was a ton of kids. I didn't realize how many kids, seniors, went to that school. But it was amazing to me how many bright young people we have in our Calaveras High School. I guess they had a record-setting 4.0 and above students this year graduating. And so that was pretty neat. We had 20 students that qualified as a top civic engagement, and you met one of them today with 1,400 hours plus, and then all the way down to 40-something hours, which is still good for volunteer hours for students. On Saturday, I got a call. I was going to the Valley Springs car show, and I got a call. Which was the Saturday, was the 24th, I believe. I don't know, my days are getting kind of mixed up here a little bit lately, because anyhow, I went to the car show, and as I was climbing the hill, because the cross in Valley Springs got sawed off over the weekend. And so it affected the community greatly, actually. And it's on veteran property, which makes it a little bit, a lot more serious, actually. And so I walked up that hill, and I got to tell you, Frank Garza, who's the sergeant with the veterans group there, is a little bit older than me, has a bad hip, and he beat me up that hill. I got to tell you that I have great respect for that man and his daughter. But I needed to go up there to see the damage and why. It baffled me why. And so there was some scribbling about Odin and a few things like that, which, I think we just need to pay attention to what's going on in our community. There's no need to bash one religion or another or anything else like that. I think that we need to just probably not let that happen and move on past that. We don't need that in our community. It's hard enough just living out our daily lives. So anyhow, the good news is Chief Robitel, Jason Robitel, out of Calco, went up the next day and took his crew up there and fixed it. So it was down for one day. I was down for about 3 days after climbing that hill. I got to tell you, that's a serious hill. I would recommend anybody to go up there and do that. I don't know if I'll be doing it anytime soon, but I want to try it again. And so that night at 12:50, my daughter calls me from Montana, and she's in, well, it was actually earlier in the daytime. She's in labor. And so at 12:50 in the morning on the 30th, she had a little girl, Jaden Rose Piazza. And she had some complications, but they're fine now. And so for me, the weekend was just pretty much being really sore, not being able to move, and staying up the whole time. But I do have another granddaughter, and she's a beautiful little thing. So I'm very, very fortunate and proud of that. And that's about all I have.
I have a couple things I forgot, Chair.
Oh, you go right ahead there, Steve.
Is that okay? As I said, I'm part of the JPA 12 board, Area Agency on Aging, and there are a couple things. We do have a farmers market in Angels Camp, and if you are over 60, there are coupons available that will help you shop at the farmers market. You can go to Common Ground in Calaveras County or the Resource Connection. If you want a phone number for that, let me know and I'll get it for you. Also, there are 2 men's lunches. One of them is tomorrow, so there's not much time in Murphy's to make a reservation. But there's another one on Friday, June 17th in Valley Springs. It is for men. It's for lunch and it's called Lunch and Learn. They do not charge you to eat lunch. They're going to go over dental care, senior peer support, medication interactions, and emergency preparedness. And if you would like to go to that, call 532-6272, ask for Gina or Heather at the Area 12 Agency on Aging, and make your reservation. And the last thing that I forgot, and forgive me, but I wanted to wish our new grandpa happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Cliff.
Thanks.
Happy birthday.
I do have one quick thing.
Which makes me feel a little bit older after climbing that hill.
Yeah. Next time, take the elevator. I wish to make just a quick little statement. Memorial weekend, I had the distinct honor of attending a get-together for a young Marine that was killed in Afghanistan, Gavin Brumman. Every year, his squad comes from all over the United States to Arnold, and that's going to happen June 10th. And from an old Marine to a young Marine. Thank you.
Where's that going to be?
That's going to be in Arnold on June 10th. It's actually a private invitation, which you were extended, but it's quite a movement, quite an ordeal.
All right. Anything else? Just like to remind everybody of the California Youth Wrestling first annual taco dinner. I'll be putting this out on Facebook rather soon. And anything from the staff? No? Okay. We need to adjourn. Thank you.